But DeMu and Numudan, it does sound like they have started, but there is a 2-minute delay before we get in. So guys, before we do, let's go back to the lobby and see exactly what we're going to be cooking for the rest of the set as these two emerge into their set. Now, of course, with the map still on the board, I want to point out that DeMu was actually the one that picked Holy Island here. And I'm quite surprised to see that. DeMu is not necessarily someone who I know as the most spicy water player of them all.
Yeah, I feel like with this map pool, you kind of have to play one of them, right? Or unless you're willing to play literally everything else, one of Four Lakes or Holy Island, I mean. I'm very disappointed though to see Socotra knocked out. I think that's produced some amazing games. Some of them finishing well before 10 minutes, but some very exciting games nonetheless. But no, I think that makes for some great ones. Coastal Cliffs I see is in there as well, which will be exciting. So yeah, a good balance of maps. Getting just that maybe just that one water map in there is always a good sight for me to see. I don't like to see series decided by them too much, but it's always nice to see players tested and having to play that full breadth of Age of Empires 4 and not just be able to sort of one trick their way through with the pure land or not having to play hybrid maps either. But a very, very, very exciting one. And I just can't wait to get in. We must be almost there, women.
We are there, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hop on in. It's game number 1 of the Homestead Cup Qualifier 3. Let's go see who makes it to the next round.
And we're underway. Awesome. So first to see, we've got in the green in the bottom left of the map is Numudan on the Chinese. And in the top right of our map in the color purple, we've got DeMu. Starting as Japan and opening up with that Dark Age barracks. That's what I want to see.
Yes, that early game aggression from DeMu is something that I think all of us have been waiting for. Like I said before, DeMu is not necessarily known as one of your most, how can we say, aggressive players. So while this is happening, with that Spearman heading on out, he has to ask himself, all right, what is my plan? What am I cooking here going forward? We see that scout already just snacking on a few sheep there, but at the same time, DeMu's Spearman is finding his way forward. Looking pretty holy there, with both of them just going to be facing off a pretty tough matchup here in general. Now, of course, Numudan, he doesn't need that much gold. He's already almost there, so it doesn't feel too scary for him to get rushed. And China is not usually a civilization you see spear rushed this early on.
It's not super consequential, right? I just want to say I love that production level up. By the way, we were unfortunately following DeMu Scout as Numudan's camera, but that's fine. It looked great with the pictures up as well. But yeah, I think you're spot on, right? With Chinese, they just need to get that early gold so that they can age up, and that's about it. From that point on, you're going to go to Imperial Academy and taxes, and they can really play into feudal. The one thing that this can sort of prevent is getting the extra bit of gold to get the pro scouts super early on before having to get it with taxes. And it looks like, I'm actually not sure whether Numudan would have liked a little bit more gold than that or not, but ultimately it's not really, there we go, it's not really going to set him back. But at the same time for DeMu, like the reason that Japan goes for this early barracks is because it costs next to nothing for them. It's 75 wood barracks. It's really easy for them to sort of get this initial pressure, a little bit of an advantage. And that's about it. But I think we've got some bad news coming through.
Now, the problem with this shutdown is already that Numudan has shut him down from getting that initial Imperial official from the Imperial Academy. So Imperial Academy being rushed up with 9 villages is something you usually don't get to see. Because, of course, you want to ask yourself, well, what am I doing? Yeah, he does pull off a few now. And we only see 4 villages on there. You want to ask yourself, okay, what am I going to be doing with the Imperial Academy if I age up quickly? Of course, this thing does not produce anything except for Imperial officials. But we do see that he's got a plan here. Numudan is heading out to the gold, and he's got a lot of sheep to boot. At the same time, let's go take a look. 20 to 12. That is significant. Now, of course, Japan doesn't struggle the same way with food because they do have that little bit of a food transition for them. But this is not a clean, fast castle Japan. We can see DeMu aging up with 4. he's looking at keeping this pressure going, or at least giving himself the option to do so.
Yeah, I think it's still at the early stage where it's a little bit tougher. Oh, not enough for the Imperial official. That's a great point there. Definitely needed that 35. That completely slipped my mind that he wanted the extra bit more. Obviously needs the age up and can get the taxes for more gold. But to be able to get the taxes, you need that little bit of gold, that 35 to get out that first Imperial official, which can then go clean up enough gold straight away from that mill to pump out the next Imperial officials. But looks like he does go and get that in the end, but that's not ideal to already be all the way over there and with the mining camp. That's a huge sacrifice, which is unfortunate for Numu. And on the other side, we can see DeMu, like you sort of theorized there, Whamen, he is committing a little bit more to the wood, so we are going to see a little bit more in the feudal age from him.
And I like seeing the amount of wood he's already stockpiling. This feels like something where he just puts himself into a spot where that pressure will get shut down too quickly. Already putting a villager onto the farm pretty early on. And now we see with the age up comes spearman upgrades. Because of course you want to force your opponent to react. Now Numudan, he has recovered a bit. He has cleaned out some of these taxes, but hasn't queued up another Imperial official just yet. Because this one man is enough to keep a watchful eye on my villagers. But of course, you want to get that bonus from the drop-off every time. He is just not prioritizing that just yet. Now, I wonder where his mind is in all of this, because... Oh, wait, is this a crash? Nah, guys, we got a crash.
Yeah, we do. I actually spawned it before. I saw the notification a couple minutes ago, and I was like, oh, but we're 2 minutes delayed, so we've really got to play out the next 2 minutes before the game crashes. That's unfortunate. The good news is I don't think too much sort of happens. That's pretty, you could just run that back and everyone would sort of react the same way, except for that little bit of gold extra that Numu didn't get to get that Imperial official. So Numudan, I think, will probably be the happiest to come out of that one with a crash, unfortunately.
Yeah, for him, that already does an insane amount of work. You get into a spot now where you're like, okay, there's a possibility of the rush. I just need to get a little bit more and make sure that my position is safe. So all in all, I think this crash, it feels okay for Numudan though. DeMu, on the other hand, he might feel like this was a significant advantage he already created for himself. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop on in to game number 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised if he doesn't do it again. And I tried to say that before I switched over, but I did see it. He is doing it again. With Japanese, you don't lose anything from this. There's nothing that Numudan can do differently to try to like defend it or stop it. The only thing he can do is make sure that he gets that 235 gold rather than 200. And honestly, going into the first game, I would have expected him to expect it to happen anyway, and he maybe just miscalculated, maybe chalked it up to nerves, who knows. But that is one aspect which I think will probably just play out largely the same, and I would expect to see Numudan get his 235 gold. But one thing I didn't really think about that you did touch on there, Whamen, is that the scouting and the sheep will be different this game to previous. So we can already see Numudan with a big sheep sort of lead. It's still early days, of course, but the difference that you get with that scouting and with great sheep gathering can have a huge impact on how these games play out, especially when you've got a Japanese who might be looking to go castle quickly, and a Chinese which is going to always sort of need that battle for food.
I mean, we can see it playing out very similarly to the last game. Both of these players getting a very similar amount of sheeps as they did before. You can see Numudan running away with most of the sheep again. And DeMu, you might know that he's trailing behind the scout. So guys, we're going to go back into that split screen to just show off yet again that we finally mastered it. And take a quick look at all those sheep. Damn, boy. Now that is going to be a very, very happy China.
So DeMu must realize at some point along here that he has been following Numudan's scout and needs to pull away, and he hasn't, has he? He's actually still following the same path. He's up there at the very, very north of the map where no sheep are. Now, if Numudan actually picks up on this, he can, which he probably hasn't seen it either, but he could theoretically get even more on the bottom half of the map as well, which could really shut DeMu out from the being able to get many sheep at all, which is a huge setback in a game like this. See, 14 to 8, so that's actually a little bit better than I expected, but still definitely in Numudan's favor. And we see the most important thing at the moment, 235, right on the money. We're not making the same mistake twice. There's no gentleman's rules of Numudan being like, hey, I messed it up the first time. You know what? I'll mess it up the second time too. He's got the money he needs. The barracks rush has done what it was supposed to do. We're all square going in to the feudal age.
And props to these guys for playing out that early game exactly as the previous one, to just simulate a very similar experience here. Now, of course, this is a significant difference. Just the fact that he doesn't need to go out for gold over here makes it already a lot better for Numudan. And this opening must feel good. Now, behind this as well, the Imperial Academy also coming up with 5. Again, he's getting it out quickly. He knows the importance of getting those IOs out and already starting the supervision. Because with the IO supervision, you of course just get that little bit of extra income. And that is what Numudan knows he needs to get. Now, we take a quick look at the sheep counter again, and DeMu has gotten himself a handful here, but you can see Numudan is a happy camper behind all of it. But behind it, again, same thing. DeMu aging up with 4 villages and already prepping that wood. He's looking at playing this game out exactly as planned the previous time.
Yeah, nothing much different is there. And that sheep count obviously does favor Numudan, but it's not a game ender. It's not as bad as it could have been. So good job for DeMu being able to change his scouting path and at least get a decent amount on his way back as well. So that's fantastic to see. Although Numudan actually, just looking at the card, he just did pick up a couple, or at least one there, extra one right at the end as the scouts cross path. But that's fine. And as we go into the feudal age, we're going to see, yeah, much the same that we saw previously. And we see the IO coming out, so that's fantastic that he was able to get that. And we see a little bit of a difference as he pumps out the second one right away after getting the taxes in from the mill. And he's got looks like the third one, and I'd be surprised not to see a fourth one as well. But he pissed down the first production building, and that's not a stables, that's not pro scouts.
That's an archery range. Wow, wowee. And getting an archery range, it tells you he respects the spears, but he wants to have the answer to them. Now, of course, with DeMu going Japan, he knows that there is that threat of playing against someone who will have the possibility of going fast castles. So with that archery range, you're already telling us you're not too worried about that just yet. And DeMu goes for his archery range himself, and that's the difference here. With him already committing a little bit to the feudal play, by just going for that wood, you already know he wants to fight this for a little bit longer. Now, 1-1, I actually think China should do pretty well in all of this. Yumis, they are fantastic, but at the same time, they don't stack up that well archer against archer as they do in a lot of the cases like with Sengoku, where you do get that extra +1 attack. So these Yumis, you can pump out a lot though. So I can see the appeal. It's just gonna be more.
Yeah, early on the favor definitely goes to Chinese, right? They can pump out so many under that supervision and come and push DeMu off that gold. Interesting to see him not actually have put up a tower there already, as of course Japanese do get that stone trickle in, which makes an early arrow slits all that more powerful. The Yumi, you can mess them so much that they feel fantastic when you have a lot of them, as well as, of course, that bannerman. But the thing with the Japanese is that to be able to get that bannerman, you need the daimyo, which is 175 stone, which is still a little bit away for DeMu. So he's not going to have that archer superiority for a while. And you already see just a couple archers out there. Actually, he's up to 9 already. That's pretty insane. 9 already pushes those villages off of gold. And that's actually a small win, but quite significant here for Numudan to be able to achieve that with very, very little.
And that's the problem when you're playing against China. You're playing against someone with an archery range that is supervised. And when they're supervised, these archers come out at the speed of light. You can see this horseman now being produced just absolutely too fast to handle. But behind this, Numudan also telling us, hey, I need the extra food. I'm going to keep this feudal fight going. So let's go and get some professional scouts. Already queuing up that extra scout as well. He's very confident in the army numbers that he has. And DeMu moving this far out, this is a risky move for him.
Yeah, I think this might be more for scouting information than anything for DeMu. He definitely wants to see if Numudan is going for that pro scouts, which he is, and it's just completed for him to go and contest it. In this case, it's really difficult for him to take a straight up fight. He does have those samurai, but with no ranged armor, that's actually going down incredibly quickly. It's only ranged attack which is about to come in for DeMu, which will give him at least some type of advantage until Numudan can catch up on those upgrades as well. But with Numudan still pumping out a whole bunch of units, adding horsemen to the mix as well as a million archers, and going pro scouts behind it, with already having those 5 scouts out going to collect up the food, that's going to set him up for a lovely extended feudal age if it goes that way, or even to be able to just quickly switch gears and go to castle whenever he likes, which is such a strength of China and sort of a big reason why they can play into this longer feudal, or at least make units in feudal without necessarily sacrificing much else. And it's a scary amount at the minute, but we are getting to the point now where DeMu will be able to get into his daimyo, which he's just queued up now, I believe, and then get that bannerman out, which with a million Yumi behind that does make things a more interesting feudal on feudal battle.
Now with +1 attack, it's going to mean that these samurais also need a lot more shots before they go down. So they do become a little bit of a nuisance when micro becomes a little bit harder as the units increase. Now, Numudan, he's getting his +1 ranged attack as well, so of course this is going to be able to level out at some point, but the Yumi numbers are starting to get scary. Numudan is able to keep up for now, but the switch he's already done into Horsemen is going to mean that this army is definitely going to struggle. DeMu only having a handful of samurais, they don't usually do that well against such a huge amount of horses that have one goal and one goal only, and that is taking care of these Yumis.
The other thing that those horsemen enable Numudan to do is raid. We see it maybe not looking to commit, just looking to poke, which makes the most sense, I think, for Numudan in this situation. But yeah, Numudan's got the added ability to be able to raid, and particularly as DeMu's food dries up around his base, you can see him chomping on the berries at the minute. If he has to go out onto those deer, or God forbid, those berries sort of in the top of the map or in front of his base, it's going to make him all the more vulnerable. Whereas Numudan, of course, with pro scouts, all the food is coming in. And it seems like he's been largely uncontested or not successfully stopped by DeMu, as these scouts have brought in at least most of that first deer pack, if not all of it. And doesn't look like DeMu's going to be able to pressure his second one. Although DeMu is knocking at the door now. That is a lot of Yumi as he takes the engagement. Spearman at the front. Horseman looking to dive. The Spearman and Samurai kind of out of position there. And the Horsemen are getting free reign on the Yumi. And they do a lot of damage with these, a lot more, but weaker archers. And the archers are popping through from Numudan, dealing with the Samurai at the back and then able to catch up. And it looks like DeMu's going to be just kiting all the way home here.
Now, kiting home, I completely understand this. You want to be able to get those reinforcements to just support it. Yumi's not taking the trades he thought they would with these horses, just able to withstand quite a bit with that range 1 armor. It is definitely soaking up everything they need. And you can see DeMu struggling a little bit to target them out as he's just attack moving backwards. Now the reinforcements, they are struggling a little bit with all these samurais just fighting around, and the Yumi numbers are increasing yet again. Now there's a little bit of a divide here. The archers do need to catch up, but the samurai running in is going to soak up so many arrow fires that it just puts it into an even harder position to just do this while moving. And you can see the archers, they're moving closer because they know what they need to attack. They need to attack the Yumis. That samurai, he is just there as a distraction.
Yeah, the difficulties of a move, right? This is the game sort of working against you a little bit, with Numudan's archers getting caught in the A move, attacking the samurai, where he would love to run through and be teeing off onto the Yumi. But honestly, it doesn't really matter too much for him, having succeeded in that fight and now having a greater military lead while also being able to have the greater eco and macro to castle. We see the Imperial Palace put down right now at the front of his base, while DeMu's got a weaker army, weaker eco, and has got to have to make something happen here with his army, as he's nowhere near being able to match this castle timing.
Now, the castle timing might come through, but how DeMu responds to this is going to tell us exactly where this will lead. The problem is, with these Imperial officials, those upgrades are so quick, and Numudan, he's got the resources, he's got the IOs, he's going to be ready to get that veterancy on his archers in no time. The problem is just what comes with veterancy also comes with lancers, and he instantly goes for the lancer instead of getting his horsemen upgraded, and that makes a lot of sense. Lancers just don't die. And especially against a very heavy feudal army, DeMu now also realizes, hey, he's got a very small window, and he's actually diving a little bit greedy here, and might just lose most of these units. And while doing this, also going castle himself. The problem is, him going castle here, it could just mean without any units that he is going to struggle staying alive.
Yeah, it feels like a little bit of an acknowledgement from DeMu that he's in a tough spot, to put it lightly. Really smart from Numudan, by the way, to send these horsemen across the map to see if he can get some eco damage done while he knows that DeMu has to dive him on his side. Now, the dive really didn't achieve much. I understand, obviously, DeMu does need to get something done as he is in that disadvantageous position, but was unsuccessful taking the fight. A couple of lances make such a big difference to chase this back, as DeMu has the samurai and had no spearmen at the time of going in there, understandably. But now DeMu's in a situation where he's just got to make as many spearmen as he can, try to hold on against the knights or the lancers and the horsemen, and then see if he can survive to castle age before he can get his own mounted samurai out the door.
And you can see with these Yumis, he realizes they are just going to end up being cannon fodder and sacrifices them to the cause. He wants to keep this army in the base of Numudan for as long as possible and feels it is worth it to actually sacrifice most of these. Now, a villager will go down, another... Ooh, never mind. He doesn't get that last attack off, and it does seem like he gets 2 total villagers for a ton of Yumis.
It's just really rough. Nothing is going DeMu's way. I mean, we see a lot of time with Japan how strong they are as a civilization, but a lot of that strength is their versatility and ability to sort of match anything their opponent throws at them. It's not a sort of comeback button to, if you get on the back foot, that you can just turn it around and stay in the game. And this is a situation which is just really rough. I mean, even DeMu's economy at the moment, he just doesn't quite have that food to get up to castle, so his timing is even a lot later than he would like it to be. And even once he gets up there, of course, he will be able to upgrade the Yumi, which is big, and able to get out those mounted samurai, which are just fantastic units. I know Reddit says so as well, but they really are incredible knights. But in this case, it's too little, too late, and he's really got a sort of a long slog on his hands if he's going to be able to hold on long enough to sort of even out this game and get himself into a competitive position.
And you can see all the villagers being pulled to go for that age up. He's already got the stable up. He knows how important this timing is going to be, but the lancer numbers are scary. He doesn't have a lot of resources in the bank for this, especially food. The gold in a wonderful position, but behind all of this, you can just see that pressure here from Numudan is going to be critical. Now, the archers do fall, and it does seem like he will be able to clean up most of these, but at the same time, he's just laser focused on the archers. Right-clicking on the archers just means that everything else is going to be able to catch up to them. That attack moving is not coming through, but DeMu, he gets up, but at the cost of everything. Villagers falling like flies. For a second there, it looked like he was going to be able to hold this, but now there's not enough slots in the TC, there's not enough places for these vills to go, and he's got he queued up one samurai, cancelled it, trying to get that mounted samurai out, but the resources just aren't there. And now the lancers just completely gotten him into shambles. Numudan getting that perfect time for the attack, and he's not slowing down. You see more and more lancers, that yellow... Oh, the green line just coming all through, and it's not units, it's more food for the man, as he realizes, hey, I need to do some real damage now, or I'm gonna struggle.
And it's quite a lot of damage. It's quite a lot of damage. Really well played, Numudan, to take that out. I think as soon as Numudan was able to push DeMu off that gold, early on in the feudal age with just a few archers right at the start, it sort of turned in his favor. He got the tempo, he got the map control, was able to turn that into successful professional scouts, and then the Chinese economy took off. So really, really clean from Numudan. I hope DeMu is not feeling too bad about that loss. Of course, with the crash in the remake, he was in a little bit of a worse position, not having pushed Numudan off of the gold early to not get his first IO out, and then also being a bit behind on sheep. That's got to feel a little bit not so nice for DeMu, but still really well played from Numudan to grind out that win against a really strong Civ in the Japanese.
Them are playing this a little bit, I would say, a little bit spicy when it comes to just the normal Japanese play. And of course, the thing is, when you're up against someone like Numudan, Numudan is so good at defending. You'll know how to respond to it. And China, they do pretty well at getting out as many spears as they would need to keep those mounted samurais under control. I like that DeMu went ahead and tried to play this a little differently, but we can see Numudan was ready to put that pressure on himself as well. Now, guys, we do have our next matchup on the screen, and it's going to be Holy Island. Now, with DeMu losing that first match, he got to pick his map, and Holy Island being his choice, it tells you his home map, he's comfortable with this. And with a pick like this, I'm excited to see what he does with it.
Yeah, we're talking right at the start about whether DeMu's pick of water was going to be a strength for him or not. And we can see he clearly feels comfortable looking to go straight into it after losing that first set. And Jushi up against Order of the Dragon, he's got to feel pretty confident, I think, with this matchup. Numudan clearly having sort of one strategy that he was going to go for. Either I'm playing HRE or I'm going Order of the Dragon. I'm doing one variation of the same thing. Whereas DeMu with Jushi and Tuklak, I mean, they're both incredibly powerful water civs or hybrid map civs. And Jushi coming out, I mean, as long as he gets a good meditation garden, which is pretty hard not to do on this map, I feel like he's going to be feeling pretty confident to level up this series 1-1, but we'll see.
And they are already in game, ready for us to roll on in to see what these two chants are going to be cooking. So guys, let's help on out to Holy Island and see what they're planning for us. Now, early on, you usually ask yourself, are both of them docking? And honestly, I hope so.
Yep. Yeah, and we see both coming out there. DeMu straight across in the starting in the top right as Jushi, going straight to the water, and of course, no different for Numudan in the green in the bottom left, going straight for the water as well. So nothing too crazy. I think the biggest difference here is, or the biggest thing to keep an eye out for here is just whether we see a barracks follow-up as well, or whether both players look to just go straight into the feudal age as quick as they can. But pretty typical darts at the minute. And we see DeMu with a good amount of sheep already. That's good to see after the last game. There's plenty. Oh my gosh, you love to see that. A group of two and then a group of two straight away. Okay, Lux on his side to start with here. Or no, let's call it skill. Fair enough. Scouting is a skill. And Numudan there with just a few, but still plenty more on the map to go.
Now, Numudan already dropped off a handful. He was ready and wanted to get the rest, but let's go look at that division. And DeMu this time is going to be not a hungry boy again. And I'm actually really happy to see this for DeMu, although it is not necessarily on the map that you would want the huge amount of sheep on. And that's just purely because when you're playing Zushi's Legacy on a map such as Holy Island, you already have quite a bit of food. And your biggest focus is just going to be on winning that water battle. But luckily, if things do go wrong, there is something to fall back on. Now, with Numudan here, going up against Order of the Dragon. Order of the Dragon is wildly good. They are insane when it comes to that early game pressure of keeping up with the boats, because of course they do have that Arcane Chapelle. Now, Mindware Palace would be a little bit of a surprise here, especially because we've been seeing the Arcane just give so much of an advantage on these water maps.
Yeah, it's kind of flipped, hasn't it? It used to be the case that HRE would always go Arcane, no doubt about it, or cancelling the animation. I would have liked to see that. And then Order of the Dragon was the one that went Mindwork 100% of the time. Now it's kind of flipped around a little bit. Order of the Dragon, you often see the Arcane, and HRE is the one that so commonly goes the Mindwork for that steel barding +2/+2 armor on their knights. But yeah, Order of the Dragon really strong on this map. The biggest problem is food, and sort of like Took like we've seen as well, when you can get onto a hybrid map, food becomes a completely different story with the fishing on the water. But Sushi's Legacy has also been a classic sort of top pick or top competitor on Holy Islands. And I think we have a pretty good meditation garden there up on the top left, or even down there as well. I mean, he gets food, gold, stone, pretty much guaranteed no matter where he goes. Pick your poison. It's almost too much choice.
And with this, we know DeMu definitely has seen it. Now, going up to the gold here, of course, you're going to have that info, but the question is, what is he going to prioritize? And honestly, with all these spots, ad feels so juicy. Pun intended, but if you can get it here, you get that double gold income. A little bit of stone trickle helps immensely. But then he's got to decide, do I rather want that little bit of extra wood to try and give me the edge on the water? So both spots absolutely wild for the Zushi's Legacy, and I cannot imagine a happier man on Holy Island when you have a civilization that benefits so much from things just spawning on top of each other. But it does look like the Mightwork Palace is on the menu, and I am shocked but excited. Because getting the Mightwork Palace just means that we are going to see a little bit more of a sneaky ground play than you would imagine. Now, with the Mightwork Palace, we've seen people try to survive a little bit on the water, just survive, so that they get that food they need to try and go for a faster castle, for example. But with all that wood being spent, we can imagine it is going to be yet another dock. Now, I think economically, Order of the Dragon does well anyway. He's probably not too concerned about getting the Arcane here and getting that extra bit of a boost.
Yeah, I'm perplexed. I don't play a lot of water. I'll put my hands up and say that. But yeah, I hear that oh no as well.
Oh
I
no,
think.
guys.
We might be in for. Actually, do you know what's so rough about this? As we still watch the game continue, but what's so rough about this is, as you were just saying, DeMu was in a really good spot again, having an advantage, a small advantage, albeit the game has just started. But yeah.
Guys, what a day to be alive. DeMu, the man cannot catch a break. He cannot catch a break. That is so tough. 2 in a row, and I can imagine what that does to your mental state as well. I know for a lot of people, when they get into a spawn like that even, it would feel pretty rough just thinking, okay, well, am I going to get that again? Is that even possible for me to get? So I can imagine DeMu is just not feeling too great about this right now.
It's not ideal. It also gives us a little bit less confidence going forward, having 2 crashes out of 3 games, or 3 instances, I should say, that hopefully there's not something sort of mismatched or going wrong there on a technical level, which is having an issue with them. So hopefully it's not the case, and we've just rolled the dice poorly twice now. But yeah, it is definitely tough for DeMu. I think the good news, if we think about it positively, is that it's pretty common you get a good meditation gardens on Holy Island. In fact, I think you always get at least a good one, maybe not as spoiled for choice as he was there. And also the game wasn't too far in, especially with playing on a water map like this. It's just, you make a dock and then you make some fishing ships and you go feudal age. Cool. We're probably going to see the exact same thing again when we get in. So not too much has been spoiled or thrown away. And I think there shouldn't be too much lost for DeMu, hopefully, as well. But still, it's got to suck twice in a row now, or essentially twice in 2 games. Having 2 crashes.
We actually had quite a few crashes on Gorge as well yesterday, so I'm starting to sense a pattern here. We're struggling a little bit with when it comes to the stability here, but guys, it is time yet again. Let's go into game number 2.5 of the set again. Now DeMu on top.
Oh my gosh.
I had to flip the names.
On top was we've flipped, we've switched, we've flipped. Okay. Thank you, Spawn, for at least changing things up. It feels like a completely different game with the orientation of the map flipped. So I appreciate that. That's something we can take away as another positive. And again, yeah, we see the same starts, right? We got both running across to put a dock down. right in front of the deep water fish, which is nice from DeMu. I think he did scout that, so it's not just luck, but that's lovely to see. And yeah, Numudan as well. I'm now turning my turning my eyes to the meditation garden potential spots, and it's
Oh
not as
no.
good.
Oh
It's
no,
not as good.
Demo, you poor man. You put 10? No, this is too far out. If you put it out here, it's so risky to just get shut down. This feels like Zushi had a 10 out of 10 spawn, and now they just get a 2 out of 10 maximum. Oh, this is awful. Poor guy. See, that would tilt me a little bit. Now, Ben, I don't know, in Twitch chat to you guys as well, we actually are using these maps called EGC Holy Island, EGC Gorge, etc. because they have more stability compared to the usual ladder versions thereof. And also balanced spawns usually. But seeing this even happen on these, it feels pretty tough, and I cannot imagine if you're the guy who just was so happy with the spawn, it must feel pretty heavy. And now, all of a sudden, an Ark Chapel makes good sense.
If Numudan does go for Ark and Chapel, I'll be very sad, I think. Now I gotta say, the procedural generation of these maps, I think, is actually something that is a huge positive and like a really fun thing about Age of Empires 4 is that the map, you have to adapt or react to the map. You can't just go in knowing you're going to get the exact same thing every time, and it forces players both to sort of interact with their own spawn and their opponent's spawn. I think that adds a great element to the game. That said, it really sucks when you're dealing with crashes and you're comparing it or you're having to compare it to what you previously had. Now, I don't want to. I'm not biased against any of these or against either of these players. I love them both. However, I am low key sort of rooting for DeMu to make a start here, as I do feel pretty bad for him so far this series.
Now, especially looking at that secondary gold as well, the gold is inside the water. So usually you get a safe-ish gold that you can fall back on. And I say safe-ish, but this one's very exposed. But it feels a little bit safer than when you lose that water. Honestly, if I saw this, I would ask for a remake. This is wild. Seeing that second stone on both sides. Yes, this one is on the water on both sides, but there is no fallback. If he loses control of this, it spirals out of control pretty quickly. So losing the water already puts him at such a huge disadvantage. I would be pretty scared here for DeMu in his spawn.
Yeah, I mean, the saving grace, I think, for him is one, I'm not sure if that reaches or not, but if he can get the meditation gardens down there in the bottom, gold, wood, and stone would actually be pretty good and help him out quite a lot. It wouldn't be too bad at all if you were coming in without knowing last game spawn. And similarly, as long as he can sort of secure up a second gold and the game doesn't go too long, it might be a non-factor as well. So it's not too much cause for alarm yet, and I hope for DeMu it doesn't feel that way either, even if he has sort of drawn the short straw. But now we see a second dock coming down as we still stay in the Dark Age. And we see, yes, thank you, Numudan, and I think that's fair enough. And I think, actually, based on what he was looking to do previously anyway, probably the right choice for what he's looking to execute is the Minework Palace, and he's going up with 4 villages. So looking to get it up pretty quick with that extra Order of the Dragon building speed. And here we see the Meditation Garden coming out. The greedier spawn for sure, and we'll see if Numudan's actually able to block it. No, not quite. So looking to block maybe that little bit better position if he can get it through there, but actually I'm not sure that matters at all. And DeMu does get the blueprint down and can build it up with touching the gold, touching the gold, touching the gold, and the berries. Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. No stone, but that's plenty good.
I think you and I may have misjudged the situation. Getting all 3 golds in that circle, that is decent. More than decent, I would say. He's going to be a very happy man with all the gold in the world. And also, you have your Imperial officials who's just going to supervise whatever they need. This feels pretty okay for DeMu in the end. And you can see in the sheep counter, he did eventually get even further ahead than he was the previous game with those. Now, the second dock from Numudan, a lot more defensive than the one from DeMu. Now, with this map being DeMu's choice, as well as, oh my goodness, and just like that, the age up happens and instantly a man-at-arms is queued up. Now, the big question is, DeMu, yes, DeMu knows. He knows, and he keeps an eye on exactly what this is going to be. Tries to see what he needs to be prepared for, but he knows what he needs to be prepared for. And when he sees this, he knows that, of course, my opponent invested in a barracks and not in a military ship.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see the reaction. And there we go. We have the barracks meeting the barracks, interestingly enough. Not the... well, I guess against men at arms, it's always going to be tough, isn't it? And not rushing up a tower either. But great work from DeMu to scout that coming out. Numudan sort of putting it at the front of his base, which makes things known for DeMu a bit more easily. But now he does know it's coming across, which is great. This obviously doesn't mean that we're not going to be playing on water as well, with both players producing ships, military ships at the same time. But here we go, the first men-at-arms coming across the map. Now, being in range of the Meditation Gardens already gives like just a slight little knockback on the efficiency of those free resources. But with the wood line there sitting freely in the back, that's going to be where Numudan looks to strike.
Now, with the Palace Guard choice, I actually love this from DeMu. These Palace Guards, even though they have less armor, they are faster. And we can see that they're catching up pretty quickly. So with this 1 minute arm investment, that means you're going to need another one. And these guys are so expensive. Quickly seeing how they trade out, that poor scout learned a quick lesson in overstepping. Now, behind this, Numudan investing in yet another men-at-arm, but DeMu, he's ready. He says Palace Guards are the way to go, and I can see this. You can get us around so easily on these two that you just put them in a very uncomfortable position. And in the end, more numbers will definitely start to stack up.
Yeah, great response. And of course, with each of Numudan's men-at-arms sort of being about 2, or counting for 2, and we see DeMu pushing it back with 3. He's done a great job to meet the numbers that he needs to push back. And of course, like you mentioned, the Palace Guard extra speed means that now DeMu can turn the tables and come across the map himself with those Palace Guards, where other civs might struggle against those feudal men-at-arms and have to mass archers and spend all that wood to try to push them back, or even go into towers with arrow slits to try to push them back. DeMu's matched fire with fire and done a great job to just push it back straight away, and sort of puts a little bit of the onus of, or the benefit of, that mine work to shame a little bit, as the with the extra blacksmith upgrades, or cheaper blacksmith upgrades. Though of course they do have more impact than that. They do affect ships as well, if I'm not mistaken, although less impactful perhaps. But we do see Numudan parked outside DeMu's base and forcing him off a lot of those deep sea fish, which is a little bit of a benefit there. If he couldn't get it on land, Numudan's done a little bit on water.
Now, what I like about this is that Numudan realized, okay, my land push did not go according to plan, but I can still fight the water, and that's exactly what went through here. Now, with the demo ships, this is where DeMu needs to play it perfectly, because demo ships just spiral out of control so quickly. Second one coming in for DeMu as well, and while all of this is happening, there's still that push over here, so we're going to be picturing, keeping an eye on those ships, and just making sure that we see if these men-at-arms are actually going to be landing quite heavily.
This is where it gets really tough, right? And this is where us mortals really struggle in these situations, but these pros do so much better, is when you're having to play land and water at the same time. As we see the men-at-arms get in and maybe mess with some of the pathing. No, it looks like he does get all of the villagers out there, but is able to push off gold with nothing there to defend. Oh, burning down a dock is quite a big win for DeMu, and you can see now why Numudan went across the map with his men-at-arms. But DeMu, sort of like I was trying to get to say there, not only are you fighting on both fronts, but you also have to make the decision as to how much you need to produce on both fronts to stay alive and get an advantage. We do see the Golden Curious upgrade come in, which gives them that extra damage reduction at low health. It's a little bit nerfed to how it once was, but still a useful upgrade nonetheless. But with this many Palace Guard, those guys are not long for this world, and we can see at the same time, picture in picture, I love this production, DeMu ships are coming across the map.
Now, that's still a pretty scary army that these ships are about to face, and one click of a button and it goes south so fast. But these men-at-arms causing a significant amount of idle time. Ship fight, we're getting some dirty connections already. Springald ships taking a good shot, and yet another one making a very nice connection. But the ships don't go down in the end here. But the Palace Guards are doing their best at keeping their men-at-arms under control. And Numudan's numbers are starting to fall quite a bit here. Men-at-arms trickle, very much not as scary as it used to be. Now the focus for DeMu is just going to be staying alive on water.
And Numudan's base, if you can quickly go across, we do have a bunch of Palace Guard in Numudan's base. I saw the bill counter going up there. He's got 3 so far with this push, although Numudan also got 3 on the flip side. But this is a lot of idle time. These vills have ran all the way around. A lot of these were on gold before, and now they're just standing still. We might see some garrison hopping, but remember, these are Order of the Dragon villages, so they do have that extra health. But fantastic job from DeMu to get that across and get that damage on, be it kills or idle time. And Numudan saying, okay, I'm going to multitask as well, is pushing his boats out across the map. And we see DeMu get just a 4th kill there, but they are worth a lot more than the inverse, as those are Order of the Dragon villages. And we see a nice round. That's a lot of Palace Guard dealing with these 2 men-at-arms from Numudan. And great, this has been fantastic, sort of multitasking from DeMu to make this work. There's a demo going in there, getting some good damage. And it's all happening on both sides of the fray here, 2 fronts. And DeMu's back, knocking on Numudan's door, not letting up at all. And Numudan is off goal.
Getting pushed off of goal, this Order of the Dragon, already feels so hard, because now what are you going to be making? And the answer is Archer, of course, as my English is trying to find its footing as well. And we can see the water fight is still taking place, but the real focus is seeing exactly how these villagers get overwhelmed. Another bunch of, idle time, but we do see 6 villager kills already, and he has had enough. That crash may have happened for DeMu, but it did not crash his skill. He was very ready for this, and you can see prepared something spicy that no Order of a Dragon could have predicted.
Really well played. I think Numudan played well himself as well, but DeMu responded fantastically. I mean, he did really well on water, but to scout that barracks and those men-at-arms come out, to quickly build up the barracks, pump out more Palace Guard than Numudan could send over his own men-at-arms, and then turn the tide straight away to then put the pressure on Numudan, where it was his plan from the get to put that pressure onto DeMu. So really, really clean, really nice from DeMu, and it is nice to see after 2 unfortunate crashes that we do see this series leveled up at 1-1. And now all things are even. We're not going to have any more crashes. Everything is going to be fine. And it's just nice, clean, ethical Age of Empires 4 from here on out.
So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hop on in to game number 3 and see how these 2 chads are going to fight it out on, like you said, one of the most standard, tried and trusted maps out there.
Yes, my absolute favorite. I think for many it is. Unless, of course, you don't get any sheep. Scouting on this map feels like an absolute dice roll, which sucks. But it does give you a good excuse if you do lose the game, which I personally really appreciate in a 1v1 game. But we see nothing too crazy coming out to start with. And I don't expect to see too much. Like I said, I think with these civs, they just like to get themselves going. With Byzantines, that's getting your cisterns leveled up. And with a U-bid, that's just looking to get fast up to Castle Age, presumably with the logistics wing and then the industry wing, although we have seen variations on that, such as the military wing with all those desert raiders, but nothing too crazy. I'm just realizing, as I was talking about luck so much in these games, with of course the crashes or the restarts, but also with DeMu getting some bad luck so far with those. DeMu's actually, arguably, out of everyone in the bracket, had the best luck, whereas all 3 other players in his bracket that was meant to play yesterday, all 3 other players forfeited for one reason or another and didn't play. So this is actually DeMu's first games of the weekend, as he got a free ride through the first 2 rounds.
Now, DeMu definitely got himself a nice little snooze bracket all in the way here, and this means he had his time to prepare. He knew exactly who he was going to be up against. And actually, I know that there are quite a few pro players here who are wondering that, hey, why did we not reshuffle the brackets after people didn't check in? Well, because for a lot of people, they prepare for these matchups extensively beforehand. So preparing yourself, I almost said preparing yourself for a specific opponent, it becomes a little bit more straightforward when you start getting into this. So DeMu, well, he had some forfeits. he definitely doesn't have it easy all the way through, because you still have to beat almost everyone with only the one spot you directly qualifying in from the winner's bracket. So this is still a pretty tough play out for them in the end. Now, we do see as these go on, let's go back to normal and take a look at that sheep count to see who won the game here. With the sheep, we see Mr. Numudan. He's coming out ahead. And now I want to take a quick look at how much of a greedy goose this man is before we talk about the Master Smiths. Oh, which is all conversation in itself. But Numudan already telling us that he's looking at investing into these cisterns quite a bit. And we see most players at least going for level 3 before pulling off. The problem is just it gives AoBids quite a bit of time. But with Master Smiths, you don't have that standard old AoBids play that we do see out of them recently.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Numudan scouted this. I was not paying enough attention, I'm afraid. But definitely a clear indicator from DeMu that, okay, we're not just doing a fast castle battle where we all get to do what we want and then butt heads. DeMu is going to bring it in the feudal age with that Master Smiths. Really goes a long way to get all of those upgrades straight away. And it's something that's sort of changed a little bit in recent times with this game, is a little bit more of weight being given to the melee upgrades from the blacksmith. I think we've seen that a lot, particularly with knights, but it also sort of flow through into just being given a little bit more weight than it previously had, or a bit more value. So with DeMu being able to get all of those as soon as the blacksmith comes up, and then to be able to pump up some units, it's going to give him the opportunity to try to then put the Byzantines and Numudan on the defensive and see if he can survive that early pressure and get to where he wants to be, or whether it's going to give DeMu an early advantage before he even thinks about going for Castle Age.
Now, you can see he was scouting this and being not too sure what the age up ended up being. Now, this is something I think I need to ask of people in the chat as well. Even when you go up with the military wing, it doesn't look different based on the part of the wing you go. So it's not that obvious what this man went for. So this could have looked like a camel, but that's why he stood around and just had a quick look to see if there's a camel popping out. But now he's getting already 2 units. That is not something that most Byzantine players have an answer to, especially this early in the game. As we now see, he's still very much, he was still very much investing into these cisterns, especially building out all the way here. You know that he did not expect to have to fight against this so quickly.
This is the ugliest ugliest aqueducts I've seen in a while, to be fair. I think it's tough getting through there. In Numudan's defense, but especially those berries don't make it super easy, and it doesn't look particularly aesthetically pleasing, but that's okay. Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, if Numudan hadn't seen it before, he's definitely seen it by now, right? And then he's prepared himself with the barracks. The Limitane are out. The mercenary house is there, and I believe we've gone for, I can only assume we've gone for the longbows, although I didn't actually see it.
Not yet.
There we go. Mercenary house is coming in now. So that's not quite up yet, but we now see it coming through as he's reaching the olive oil count to get out that first bunch. And then we'll see the classic Byzantine defense. And he has got the tower up there already with the upgraded arrow slits as well. So he is ready to do what so many Byzantine players sort of cut their teeth on, which is defending against feudal aggression.
And defending against this is one thing, but defending against +1 upgrades, that's going to be a whole other beast. As we now see these archers coming in, and you can see they are breaking that poor villager's back in half. Took an arrow to the knee. Only 3 arrows was enough to already traumatize this poor guy for life. Now, we do see him pulling up a little bit on the gold here, and only having 3, it feels fine, but it's not going to get you anything in terms of upgrades just yet. Javelin throwers are the name of the game here, and I'm actually so excited to see a few javies joining, because we haven't seen javelins unless in very specific circumstances. So already I'm ready for this, because with javelin throwers, you just get a different style of gameplay already.
Yeah, it's not as common at the moment, is it? We really often see the longbows, but the javelins have always been considered strong and definitely a viable option. I'd love to see Keshik back their way back, but I don't think we'll see those this weekend. But the javelins can really push away the archers and poke and prod, especially in the smaller numbers. And if you can get a couple batches out, where it can get rough is if you start to lose the javelins, as of course you are limited in the amount that you can make compared to the Malian home civilization of them. But in this case, looks to be enough for Numudan to push at least it away to start with. But with his wood line at the front, and certainly not looking at this stage at least to have to run away to his back wood line, it is going to be a big call for him, or an important part for him to be able to hold these archers back with those javelins. But DeMu doesn't really care about javelin throwers, man. He just wants to get in there, and we see the ram coming out already, only 8 minutes into the game.
8 minutes is such an early timing for a ram already, and I can feel this pressure is going to be quite immense. Now, we talked about the AoE bits with Manjaniques, but this is just an AoE bits with rams, and you can see the priority is Iron Undermatch. He wants to make sure that this does not become a one-stop shop with all those archers just going to be able to break through absolutely anything and everything. Now, with all of these villages being pushed off of gold, he doesn't really have a safe place to retreat to. And the berries he brought in is not enough for that second, or at least the second. The third batch is not going to be anywhere close. But he does have to abandon ship, and the tower will go down eventually. This is just too much pressure for him to handle. And you can quickly see the arch numbers not slowing down. DeMu is very much committed to this, and with that, it makes a lot of sense, but the javelin numbers, they are going to start getting scary. They do stand a little bit far forward as the horsemen are trying to make their way through, but the archers are getting picked off, and you can see the villagers very desperately just trying to get a bit of gold as well.
Yeah, this is a big engagement. Numudan really has to be able to hold here, or it could be all over for him. Numudan desperate to get as much gold as he can. You see the Limited with their shield wall up means they do take less range damage, so they are sort of tanking as much as they can for the javelin. So these archers are teeing off non-stop, but not doing too much damage to any of the units here. And the horsemen just can't connect, even with the lower attack speed from having the shield wall up. They're not going to be able to get in there at all. And it looks like Numudan, I mean, the javelins, especially with the second bunch having come out, he's only lost, I think, 2 of them. They're not quite one-shotting, but they're doing enough to push these archers back who do no damage to them in reply. And as a result, Numudan's pushed it back. He's secured his gold. He's going to get the rest of those berries for another batch of mercenaries. He's got a few olive oil groves all set up now, and that's a good place for him to be, having pushed back this aggression, which was looking really scary from DeMu.
I honestly thought that push from DeMu was going to be more than enough, but apparently those javelins really just showed us the power and why they were meta for a very long time. But now, taking a look at the gold, we don't see Numudan instantly spending in one spot. And this tells me that he is also keeping his options open. And when I say options open, I mean being able to click up to castle if need be, but he does see the army pushing out, knowing that this is going to be yet another feudal part of the game, and quickly gets that +1 ranged attack as well. Of course, with this type of a push, you have to still be careful. The javelin numbers are not replaceable. The Limited, they are still going to get picked off eventually, but the few horsemen you mix in the bunch is going to start amounting to something scary that I don't think DeMu is finding an answer for anytime soon.
Yeah, doubling down from DeMu, he knows he's got to win it. He's got to win it, or if Byzantine are able to get up to castle, it's all over for him. And it's looking really rough with the javelin count still being what it is. DeMu does have the horsemen to counter them, and they will kill them really quickly if he can get on top. But it's just not been the case, and even with Numudan adding his own horsemen in front to tank, he's tanking these archers with horsemen, with shield wall Limited, and of course with the extra ranged armor that javelins have. Well, a couple horsemen going down there for DeMu is going to take all the threat away And these javelins keep coming up non-stop. It's just a shift right click from Numudan to kill everything back. There's more horsemen coming in from DeMu, but one goes down, and the others, they just can't get on the javelins. They dive there, committing to it. If they get one down, and maybe if they can get another, they do, which means the count goes down to 4. They're not one-shotting the archers, which is good, but the archer damage just, even with the Master Smiths and getting those upgrades in right away, I mean, the reward or the payoff of that isn't so much in effect anymore as the upgrades even out. And the counts grow so much that, well, there's another bunch of javelins there as well. DeMu does have the military lead in numbers, but Numudan's got the position right now.
With that age up, you want to get a way to get ahead. And this was definitely a great job of getting ahead. But he wasn't able to capitalize over this. No worker kills in all of this, even with those huge amount of archers on the forward wood line, like you mentioned. It is just, oh my goodness, man. He's going to be making olive oil for days, and everyone is going to be living a very happy Greek life with the Byzantines just stacking up on all the oil. And already another batch is going to be able to get chosen. And this is starting to get to that critical mass where you need a lot more horses to actually take this down. Because soon enough, these javelins are going to be able to one-shot them as well. Quickly, just taking down whatever they can. But luckily, not focusing all that much. So a few horses do make it out again. And DeMu's army is still scary enough for Numudan to have to back off.
Yeah, it is a matter of DeMu just having to double, triple down now and try to break through. Numudan is definitely respecting it, making as much as he can. We saw DeMu just very briefly on the right-hand side there try to get a raid, and now he's doing it again on the left-hand side, which I think he has found purchase. He should get some Vil kills here, but the Aquatoid defense triggering right away. What do Byzantines not have to stop their units from dying? But pushes it away, it will time out, and he will be able to go back in there. He was trying on the right-hand side of the berries in the far back of the base, and Numudan did a great job to see that and push that back with a handful of units. But DeMu is seeing this now. He knows he's got a place to attack, and as long as if DeMu can get some damage, it's going to put him in a bit of a better position. But the big problem for him now is, as much as he's double, tripling down to this aggression, he just hasn't been able to get the economic damage down yet.
No villagers falling this game. It feels insane with the amount of time that DeMu has spent on the opposite side of this map. But those Limited, the shield wall coming in clutch time and time again. You can see the shift clicking here from Numudan on every single archer to spread that damage. Numbers did fall quite a bit here, but at the same time, not falling fast enough. You can see all these archers just trying to make a little bit of damage to go through on these javelins, but the Limited, the numbers are finally getting to that point where even the archers are not able to keep up with them. The shield walls just absolutely showing us what really matters here. These archers need to take care of these Limited before DeMu can go all the way through on top of these javelins. Again, DeMu now, he feels the pressure. He knows how important it is to find the damage, because that age up right now meant nothing.
Yeah, quite clever from DeMu there to hold his horsemen back to bring Numudan as far out of his base as he could before he turned. You could see him picking off as many of the Limited as he could with those archers, or those struggling to do so, before he would then turn the horsemen around and catch him outside of his base. Unfortunately, Numudan, I think, just sheer numbers, was able to not really take much in the way of damage there anyway. But it is clever play from DeMu, and we see now his gold has really crept. So we're likely to see both players tick up to a castle age out of this, but I still think that's looking to be, especially with all those olive groves safe away in the back there for Numudan, going to be very much in his favor, or feeling a lot more comfortable. And you can see he's feeling a little bit more comfortable because we've got the raids coming out across the map with the horsemen in return, and he has found the deer straight away. One of the things about this is, of course, DeMu trying to get everything he could out of, squeeze every little bit of advantage out of his push, as he didn't have any towers there, which means that raid is going to do a lot of damage for even just having a couple of horsemen, whether it's idle time or kills, and he knows he has to get something done, so pushing in the front again. Archer's trying to pick off anything he can that sort of overextends, but I mean, nothing that Numudan has is really dying to these archers, unfortunately. He needs to get this Limited count down, but unlike other spears, that shield wall just makes it so hard. And then with the javelins doing so much damage in return, it's just looking rougher and rougher for DeMu with this, I think, fifth push in, I think, maybe in this game so far.
And you can see with all of this fighting going on, he feels comfortable enough to still be that pressure that he felt in his base the whole time. Now, villagers trying to fight their way through those horses, they're getting their shivs out, just pushing them back with logistics coming out. I'm honestly so surprised to see that. You do get 3 dervishes, which means he's going to make a little bit of a more aggressive move to try and get all these relics on the map. But the problem with that is you still don't have an answer to shutting down the Byzantines. And I think with Aeobids, he's got to ask himself, how do I find the damage? Because by this point, he's definitely already up. Numudan is so far ahead with this because of the cisterns. Level 4 cistern just means this is not really 54 villagers. This is more like having in the 60s compared to your 58. So pretty even as far as that's considered, but the food transition, everything just feels so much smoother right now for Numudan, and I don't know if there's going to be an answer for DeMu as time creeps along.
Yeah, I think we just caught those vills at the bottom there, maybe proving your point, running off to where it is they're trying to find food. And it's really rough. I mean, we've got Numudan set up his olive oil transition, trickling them in, really, not even having to do a transition, but a trickle. If DeMu has to switch to farms, that's going to be all over. And he's running out of food on the map. Of course, he can't go for that boar on the right side. He's got those little bit of berries left, and he's got that little bit of deer left, which he's managed to secure. But after that, it's farms, which is not where he's going to want to be at all, particularly when Numudan's already got his set up. They're both going to hit castle around the same time, which means DeMu can get his dervishes on the map to pick up hopefully as many relics as he can for himself. But on the flip side, this is where Byzantine's army really starts to take off, and we see the first 2 cataphracts queued up.
Now, cataphracts has shown us time and time again that they are not something that anyone knows how to handle by this point. Camel Lance is coming out for DeMu though. He knows that he needs another trump card against this, especially with the amount of horsemen we see here. Those camels are going to feel good. But the problem with camels is there's going to be other camels in this mix as well, especially with all of the oil trickling in. It's just going to take another minute for him to be able to queue up that first batch. With a quick wall coming in, it doesn't feel like DeMu is going to be able to raid either for very much longer. And the javelins are so scary, just getting rid of any horse that dares step out. Numudan also not wanting to give him all these relics for free. The problem is just, those are dervishes. They do not die. They are going to be able to pick up whatever they want and drag it back to base.
Yeah, it's going to be a big tell for DeMu if he can get these relics in him. I think we might need to switch over to the relic statistics, unfortunately, with the new caster mode. I think he's picked up 2 so far. He hasn't quite got the 1 in his base, which I'm sure he's saving, and then the 1 on the far right, or he may have just picked up, which might be the 3rd one coming back. And he's pressuring at the same time to look to secure as much as he can. He does have this army count, which is great. His food count is looking okay at the moment, although he is going to have to do that farm transition. But we look at the picture-in-picture, we've got the horsemen teeing off on the villages, which DeMu has not seen, he just sees it now. But that's going to be a bit of eco damage and pushing him off gold at the stage when he needs as much as he can. To get out these camel lances is going to be a nice win for Numudan. And another little bit of a win is that these javelins are doing a great job teeing off on these archers. But man, DeMu is not afraid to continue to commit to them. Knows he can't. Numudan can't produce javelins to the same speed as say the Malians can, so he's committing still to the archers with his camel launchers, and actually doing a pretty decent job in this fight, as we see yet again in the picture-in-picture those horsemen teeing off on a different gold, but gold nonetheless. And DeMu actually turns to fight those horsemen with it as well. No Akratoy there, but still forcing them away and chasing them down. There he sees it, pulls back. As is a really tough position for both players, having to multitask across the board, and DeMu doing a great job to sort of pull off and try to get as much advantage as he can, and similarly for Numudan, keeping things on both fronts as well.
And you can see DeMu is feeling like he needs to find the damage, and he does, especially with Numudan trying to equalize this type of villager advantage that he already got by just raiding. Now, DeMu able to get a few kills here and picked off some really expensive units, but those horsemen from Numudan really showing their power. Now, we get into that awkward phase where DeMu needs to start farm transitioning. You see a bunch of villagers already being picked back here to try and get a bit of food for him. Farms being placed down here at the back. This is where AoE slows down significantly. And Byzantines, they don't have that same problem right now.
This is usually where, for most players, you just lose the game. Having to farm transition in a position like this. I mean, it's quite literally 0 food per minute at the moment for DeMu, which I don't need too much expert analysis to say is bad. But he has got a lot of onward. He will be able, if he can survive, he will be able to make that transition. Numudan is now coming across the map with all of his army, so definitely picking up on the fact that this might be his timing to go. He's got a bunch of cataphracts, a bunch of javelins, and Limited there to get something going. So we saw a dervish still with the relic there sitting in the bottom left, so that's something that hopefully DeMu can see soon and turn around, although gold is not his problem at the moment. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see a market come down and, oh, that is one right there, and to buy some food in the interim. But this is going to be a case of DeMu just wanting to hold on before he can stabilize again in this game.
Now, with all of the sacred sites sticking, it's by the book. But of course, getting to decap them is not going to be that hard, especially considering he's got such a scary army. But Manjanique's now coming out on the defensive, and that's usually not something we see all too much. But they're going to be a pretty decent answer to all of this. The cataphracts, though, they don't care about a front line. They go straight for the kill. And with the crossbows, DeMu is going to need a ton of them to actually take them down before they collapse on these Manjaniques. The relics, though, let's take a quick look at that counter to see 3 and another 1, I would say, coming in. Oh, no, he definitely realized that the man was standing idly. So getting that 4th relic in is going to help. The farm transition, it's starting to kick in as we see the food now edging towards that 700 per minute. That is purely off of farms by this point. So he has recovered. He just needs a little bit more time for this to work. The problem is Byzantines, they still have that cistern bonus. So in the end, the Byzantines economy just reigns a little bit more superior. Now, of course, with all of the golden ages coming on in, it does give the villagers a little bit of boost when it comes to the gathering speed, so he's not as far behind as a usual civilization would be.
No, not at all. And I think at this point, I mean, we can see that Numudan's food is actually not been that high either. Of course, with a lot of these units just being made by olive oil, it kind of means it doesn't matter as much, but it is still struggling for it a bit. Which I'm sure he would love to have a lot more food than he currently has. So DeMu has done a good job to bring that up. Now the biggest thing here for that's in DeMu's favor is that he's got the Manjaniques out. He's got 4 Manjaniques out. He's got a bunch of Camel Lances, which are actually getting a lovely trade in there. And now the power of the Javelins all game is at its weakest point. It's at these counts, it's so much harder to micro those javelins to not be overkilling on the range, on the archers. And he can't be teeing off against the camel lances because it's just not going to be having the same effect. So the burden is a much higher on Numudan to use his army effectively. And of course, with the Manjaniques, they're even easier to use than Mangonels. He just has to click somewhere within their army and rain hellfire, and that's actually going to do a hell of a lot of damage against those javelins, whereas previously trying to fight it with Camel Archer wasn't going so well. So DeMu has done an amazing job to hold on to get to this point, and now having made the farm transition, getting the Manjaniques out, he's looking great.
Now those extra sets of farms, as we can see in the tiny picture, not under the rest. They're not very protected either, right next to the TC there, but at the same time, it's not something I think Numudan has an answer to just yet, because Numudan knows the power of the Manjaniques. You have to be careful. This push can be devastating if you just look away for a moment. Now we do see some green dots all around as he's trying to get a bit of a raid in, but finding the damage is going to be quite hard because the camels are in position. You see Mangonel towers doing work, but the villages are slowly going to be going down themselves.
Yeah, kind of surreal to see that 3 grouped up together is maybe not in hindsight where you would have wanted them to be, with the extra splash damage doing so much across the board to villages and the towers alike. We've got pretty similar there in the way of army size, but it does just look so much more dangerous for DeMu, and you see the first tower going down and picking up those 5 kills. 2 of them now trying to run away, but they're not going to be long for this world. The towers themselves going down. And Numudan says, I'm not fighting this crap. I'm going across the map. I'm going to try to kill you where your eco is.
Now, the problem with this is he's 18 villages down. He knows that this is his one and only push. The problem is the other push is happening at the same time, and both of them are trying to find the damage they need to get ahead. Cataphracts, while being scary, DeMu has more villages to spend. So if we take a quick look at that other side, it just feels like a base race because everything's attacking the TC for some reason. Cataphracts are going for all these villages, falling like flies, and the villager count has been equalized. But Manjaniques, they're going straight for the landmarks.
Okay, yeah, just chaos ensued. We do a little mini base race. We get a lot of villager kills, and Numudan says, actually, well, okay, I wanted to go in and do some damage, but I didn't want to commit to a full-on base race. I'm coming home, which I think suits DeMu fantastically. As long as he can keep his Manjaniques alive, he's able to just pepper anything he wants in this space, whether that be the landmarks, whether that be the groves themselves to stop all the food income, or even the production to stop Numudan being able to match him militarily. And now he's just teeing off with the army from an insane distance, and you can see Numudan trying to spread out, looking to take something of a good fight. But I don't think there's any way in which he can come in against this. We've got Cataphracts coming in from both sides, which is good for him. Cataphracts trample on through, do get on top of some of the Mangonels. He's got the Javelins teeing off at the back. Unfortunately on the Camel Lancers, so they're not going to get a lot done. The military count is 2-1. These archers are still firing away, getting as much damage as they can. The Manjanique count is still got a couple there shooting away at the Javelins, which are slowly but surely going down. And a bunch of Camel Lancers turn into reinforcements from DeMu's base, and he cleans up everything.
This was such a perfect play here from DeMu. He read the situation perfectly, realized where Numudan would be weakest and where Byzantine's always weakest, on the farms and the landmarks. This is not the Macedonian dynasty where you can just sit back, relax, and wait under your Golden Horn Tower. It doesn't shoot. It just allows you to get defeated if given the moment. And this is the power of having the Aeobid Manjaniques. We saw so many villagers dying as he tried to get them down. But time and time again, Aeobids just shows us the power of the push once they're ready.
I mean, that's really, really great play from DeMu. He was not in a good spot for most of that game and had to squeeze every little thing he could have out of his economy and his units and his civ to try to stay in there and get some sort of advantage. When DeMu wasn't able to get much economic damage done early in that feudal age, I really thought it was almost all over for him. He then managed to find the right time to get castle himself, made a good castle timing alongside Numudan, got the relics, ran completely out of food, still managed to survive switching into his farm transition, turned it into a way stronger economy than the Byzantine had, both on 1 TC, and then was able to get enough of a Manjanique count to then go across the map and just win. I'm amazed. I think DeMu played so well that game and has turned around 2 games back to back to really give himself a well-earned advantage going into potentially match point in our next game.
And getting a civilization such as Malians, that doesn't feel bad at all. But Numudan is telling us a very clear statement of Macedonians are way harder to handle. So sniping out the Macedonians, already telling us exactly what we need to know. And oh, the civilization, it's been a little bit of a demon civilization recently. Not something that you get to handle with most civilizations. And Delhi and Golden Horde, I don't think either of those 2 civs want to be trying to find an answer to them. But Malians, we have seen them not as much as well, because people are just banning them out. So with the Malians being played against the Golden Horde, not a Dark Age civilization, nothing that can actually go and shut down the Malians' greediness in that early game. But you still need to find a way to shut them down, and I don't know if Golden Horde has the tempo to be able to do so.
It's kind of a similar type of matchup where you have 2 civs that do want to scale, and once they reach that point where they feel comfortable. So with Mali, obviously, there's that cow boom, get into castle, with the Filani, and you're feeling nice and safe and strong. With Golden Horde, it's kind of similar. If you can get the stone count through, if you can get all your Uvus and get up to castle age, it feels good, especially if you can save that stone, not having to spend it all on Torgid, and can eventually get that also expensive reinforcements upgrade, even with the small bug that they do have currently, which makes it ever so slightly worse. But it'll be interesting. Yeah, like you say, no Dark Age from either, which would tend to suit either. But you have to say in this case that Mali does sort of have the eco advantage, but Golden Horde's Feudal Age is something not to be underestimated. We do often see either the Torgid Keshik sort of harass into Castle Age, or we see kind of a pseudo 1-1-1 comp with Outer Stables going Torgid Archer Spearman, which is we've seen actually win a lot of games there, just flush in the Feudal Age.
Now,
I'll be interested to see what happens.
on Cliffside, though, you have to keep in mind, this map is small. So let's then, go see exactly if they're going to be emotionally ready for that small space that can easily become a little bit crowded when the raiding starts. Now, I want to point out, so guys, we're about to follow and go and just split screen so we can see these two scouts. But what I want you guys to notice is that Mr. Numudan goes backwards every single time. He goes backwards before making his push forwards, and it feels like this is now his pattern. And he's giving that information out to the opponent already. If DeMu can capitalize on that type of scouting pattern, it would definitely benefit. Because with you going backwards in your early game scouting, as we see these two meet, you know already where they are most vulnerable. They don't always see your Dark Age aggression if it comes, but with Malians, of course, you just want to be greedy, get your gold, get your houses up before doing anything else. And especially against Golden Horde, that doesn't really feel too susceptible in that Dark Age.
No, and we see already with similar scouting patterns, the sheep coming through to Numudan, or at least an early advantage. I'd be so interested to hear from the pros what their thoughts are. I think you raise a really interesting point about what they look to do both early on in the series, but then as the games develop and they learn a little bit more about the tendencies of each other. I think Numudan's got a bit of an edge each of these games, or for the most part, I should say, especially if we include the crashed games as well. But it's not been too much of a game changer, at least I don't think it had that great of an impact in our last game. And I don't think we're going to see too much impact from anything in this early game, as, like you say, both civs, both players are just letting each other scout and get their Dark Age up, and we'll start interacting with each other come the Feudal Age.
Now, taking a look at the spawns, you have to ask yourself, which person is going to be a little bit more susceptible to that type of pressure? What I like about DeMu spawn is he only needs to defend one side, but that gives you the other problem of you are vulnerable if you get pushed on just one side. So Numudan, he sees this. He sees that, hey, double gold, I'm possibly going to be able to do something about this quite easily. Numudan, he doesn't have that same issue. He gets to go fall back, but usually when you're up against Sofas don't really care. They'll just go run to where your villages are, and they will raid you into oblivion. Cannon the Torgoods being the weapon of choice here, and we have seen a lot of building cards recently, but Cannon the Torgoods, time and time again, it just is the favorite, because of course with that cheaper cost on your Cannon Torgoods, it just makes them so much easier to spam, especially when you are in the feudal. Now, what I would have liked to see, and what I really want to see, is us getting some building cards in a game against the Malians, because it provides that early tempo you need to really shut them down for being out here, just putting houses so far, exactly as the Civ does, and getting the control of that second gold already.
Yeah, and saving the wood cost is a huge thing that the building carts gives you early. It means you don't need as much wood, and you can prioritize getting the second Uvu and the fortified outpost early, which is 300 wood, which means that for the Golden Horde, that early feudal, it feels just like you're trying to squeeze every last little bit out to get yourself going and have that tempo, which is what the building carts does give you. Now, the Khan and Torgoods does, like you said, like you get the Khan and the Torgoods out there a bit quicker and cheaper, or you can keep making Torgoods as you do have to wait for that stone count to rise before you're able to get them out. Now, the thing, talking about spawns again, yeah, this is going to be either you defend it well for DeMu and you're sitting great. Maybe, I think maybe 1 or 2 houses down if the spacing is not quite favorable for him. But for Numudan, he's got his gold in the back. He's got wood lines that he can easily wall. Being Golden Horde, not Mongols, he can do that. And he's got deer sitting in the back, which is really safe for him to go and take, which is a huge boon to Golden Horde, as it means they can delay those stockyards just a little bit more in favor for some aggression. Very nice from DeMu there, seeing seeing Numudan going out and getting his second Uvu. Not being able to get that right away does feel kind of bad for the Golden Horde, especially if you are looking to make a lot of those targets in Feudal Age. But it was just a scout. I'm sure he can get back out there shortly. And we'll see if he does look to add in more aggression. But for now, we see it's actually DeMu with the first extra production building, which is the stables.
And getting the stables here, it makes a lot of sense. You want to get that scout to be extra spicy, make sure that those raids that you're planning to do, they are going to be annoying to handle. And what I really liked about this is he instantly went for the double broad axe. So he went for the double broad axe to make sure that he has that wood income to transition into anything he needs, but then going for the cows right after. Because usually players ask themselves, am I supposed to go for the 3 cows opening, instantly get that bonus, or is it just more important to get this over time? Now, with the 3 houses out here, DeMu is being conservative. He knows the difficulty of handling the pressure once it arrives. The spearman being the follow-up here, and honestly, I have no... Oh, there we go. I was about to say, where are these spearmen coming from? But getting the spears, you want to be able to go and shut this down, because this is already so greedy from the Malians, and you need to find a way to stop it.
Yeah, and going all melee for Numudan means, 1, he's got the spearmen to stop the scouts and any potential sofa. And also it means he's going to have all that extra torch damage. So if he can get a military advantage in Feudal, he can pressure both of those pit mines right next to each other. So it is a little bit sort of all or nothing potentially for both of them. But for now, we just see things ramping up ever so slowly. DeMu is only committing to some warrior scouts. So not putting a lot into this. And as soon as he sees the spearmen, I assume we're going to see some kind of reaction from DeMu one way or the other. But we see now the cow count rising, which is going... there we have it. We got the 1-1-1, the barracks and the archery range.
And you see with the Khan in the base, he's still just responding to these scouts. And I like this about DeMu. Just going for that Pierce scout composition tells us he is looking at spending every bit of resource he can into the cow economy. Because 75 gold per minute, it starts adding up. This is a villager at 1.9 villagers that already comes out. So let's say 2 villagers per camp. It means he's already quite far ahead. And with the food running out, he needs this. Now, the problem is there's going to be pressure. And I was going to say, there's not a lot of food left in DeMu's base. Because initially, Numudan, again, was the man who got all of the sheep. But the pressure is now on. And DeMu, with all of this, he's got some cows. He already got a ton of gold out of this. So he shouldn't feel too bad about just letting the gold trickle come in and then trying to fight this.
Yeah, roles reversed from last game, isn't it? Numudan on the Golden Horde is the one that's going to look to pressure a sort of asymmetrical economy of a Malian, kind of like a Byzantine, which they look to get their own unique resources going. And in this case, it really is for DeMu, securing these pit mines, getting that gold, getting that cow boom going. And if he can secure that, he's going to be in a fantastic position. For Numudan, it's not a super huge commitment still. It is still macroing for Feudal, absolutely. Oh, we see the archery range go down now. So it is going to be every unit under the sun for Numudan coming across. So we've got the spearmen counts, but now we're going to see the archers start to really ramp up, and our first Keshiks are almost on the field as well. So Numudan wants these pit mines, and with a little bit of the food eco out to harass as well, it does give him some choices to do some damage.
Now, these scout numbers, they're pretty scary. Even though they're not going to win in a 1-to-1 fight, it still is so annoying to just lose all this little bit of HP on your units, especially when you know you're going to be needing to dive at some point, because that's what we see time and time again from any opponent who plays against the Malians. There's that timing where you're aging up and you know that economy is about to explode. You need to go and shut them down. Now, there's still a ton of food here in the base. As we can see, Numudan is capitalizing on the fact that he has the map control for now. And DeMu is the one who's just reinvesting in more and more cows, but with very conservative numbers, as he's ensuring that he keeps the Donzos and the Archer numbers up properly.
Yeah, no one looking to blink just yet, knowing that if they pull off the gas at all at this early stage, they could get ran over. And I think you're like on the money, right, with how it feels to play Malian, is that you know if you commit to that age up too early, that dive is coming, and that could be all it, or one way or the other, that could be the game. So it is something that you really want to be sure of, and I think DeMu has shown us this series. Like he's playing this very methodically. He is making sure that any decisions he makes are based on scouting information and making calculated risks. And in this case, he knows pretty clearly here that Numudan is committing constantly to fuel age and is not looking in any way to stop producing pretty much every unit available to him. The only thing being the bottleneck is the food for Numudan, which will be the big thing to keep an eye on economically. But for DeMu, things are a little bit simpler. It's those pit mines, and it's adding the cows, which is looking really healthy.
The cow numbers definitely put you in such a good spot already. Getting into this level of cowship, you are in such a good spot to just take a fight, replace. It doesn't feel the same as the Castle Age, of course, but you still have enough units to get you or keep you from dying when that dive eventually happens. And it looks like DeMu, he's starting to feel that emergent pressure that's about to take place here from Numudan. Numudan trying to find that way around, trying to find a bit of damage here, but DeMu already getting those blacksmith upgrades behind this too, adding that extra bit of production building and switching into a Musafani composition. And I'm kind of liking this.
Yeah, Mustafadi really only going to struggle against the archers, which is not the hugest count at the moment. As we see the clash, Torgut's up the front. They are fantastic tanks, don't do a lot of damage, but take a lot. But we see probably a better surround here for DeMu. The Karash in there giving a nice armor bonus, and I think DeMu is taking this fight just before his ranged armor kicks in as well. So there's plenty of damage coming across onto his army, but the numbers are in his favor. And keep in mind, these Torguts, they don't do a hell of a lot of damage. When the Khan arrow comes in, they do ramp up a bit more, but in this case it's a rout, and we even some Sofa got mixed in there, which are a fantastic value as well. And these archers, Donzo and Sofa, are pushing back everything. This archer count already wasn't enough for Numudan, and it's even shrinking further, and it's a scary looking army for DeMu as he looks to take, or after taking such a huge fight, this could be his chance to tick up to castle.
Now DeMu winning a fight as feudal Malians, you can see he's slowing down, but not stopping the ball from rolling. Already making a handful of sofas here, while still ramping up those resources to get to that castle age. Now, it could just be that he sort of queue up too many sofas from the same stable, but now he has to be careful here, because of course the Keshaks, they are not going to take the same amount of damage as his other units did. Now, with the sofa numbers, we do see that extra stable here at the back, just adding a bit more, but the cows, they are still being eaten. There's not enough pens for all the cows to just stand in. They are the food source that DeMu is sourcing from. He needs to find a way to get those cows into the pen and get to castle, but he does it safely. Because again, we've seen this from Malians. This is where they get dove the moment they age up. DeMu doesn't want to take any risks in all of that. But the Musafadis, they are going to be a little bit harder to handle for Numudan when the time comes. Because a lot of players, they tend to forget that those things just go behind and snipe whatever they feel like. So, especially when you're floating this much gold, you do get to make those units that handle the Keshaks pretty well.
Yeah, it is. In this case, it's defensive Mustafadi, but it's defensive anything. As Numudan knocks on the door, he knows DeMu's going castle at this point. He knows he's got to come in and find his window of opportunity. And this is the moment that we've been talking about for probably the last 5 minutes, as to whether Numudan can get any damage, any value here, as DeMu looks to go up and secure his castle, which is already 3/4 of the way done. Numudan does see it. There's next to no army here, though. He just doesn't have enough after that. After the end of the last fight went so poorly for him. The archer count is a little bit, but that's almost as many Sofa as it is archers. And the Mustafati there hanging on as well. And these archers are tearing off. Good micro to pick off as many archers as he possibly can. And DeMu does reach the castle age now. In Mali, their veterancy upgrades are cheaper and faster, so we'll look to see those come through soon. A little bit surprised to see DeMu looking to take this fight, but that's how confident he is with not wanting to, or not needing to pull back before he gets those upgrades in. They will come in very, very quickly, and even without, it looks like he is winning the fight.
That is the best feeling as Malians, the fact that you can take a fight in Feudal and make it look easy. You were the one who just spent all those resources in aging up, and you see Numudan, he's trying to get a handful of Keshiks out more. He knows this is his last chance at qualifying for the Homestead Cup, and DeMu feels strong and ready to take down the man who is fighting for that spot to go up against Puppy Paw after this one too. Now, Numudan quickly just trying his best at picking off every unit that can do a bit of damage to the horses, and getting the Donzo down too just makes this a little bit better for him. DeMu now extending his welcome a little bit too far, plus the range attack gonna be coming in, but it takes a while. And you can see the Keshiks, they did buy him that bit of time he needed. Now the archers are going to be falling like flies pretty quickly here, and you can see Numudan is not planning to invest any more into that just yet, because with the composition switch, we already know what's going to come out of Malians. Castle Age Malians means one thing and one thing only, that's Sofa Archer.
Sofa Archer, and it's incredibly hard to stop at the best of times, but especially when you're in age down and struggling. This looks like he's going to look to go up to castle and meet it, but there's two things to keep in mind for Numudan. Is one, that castle takes about 12 minutes to kick in, and the other thing is that his food is still on the map. And now if DeMu can take a second to even look through the fog of war, he will notice that those deer are being eaten, and have been for quite a while actually. And now that DeMu is able to get out of his base and onto the map, and especially with the mobility of those Sofa, it gives them plenty of opportunity to go shut those down, or anywhere else that Numudan's economy might be exposed. But Numudan, he's hanging on, he's got to buy himself some time, and he's got some cavalry to try to do that. So we see the Keshiks and Torgood coming in to see if he can pick up some eco damage while he's got the chance.
And getting some eco damage at this stage, it's not about you doing actual eco damage. It's about you keeping your Malian opponent in his base to buy yourself some time for that age up. Quickly trying to rush up a few fortified outposts here as well. You can see the man, he knows this imminent danger is on the way. And with no wheelbarrow, these villagers are running so slowly, trying to get to safety. Archers not even doing a bit of a tickle against these Sofas. They are so strong, and they can take any punches that this feudal little army is going to be throwing at him. So Keshiks will still be the main investment here, and it makes a lot of sense. You want to keep your opponent on his toes, and oh, I love this. The fact that Keshiks can heal up while attacking, it pays off quickly to just attack a nice little cattle ranch.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd be wishing he had a few more, though. Unfortunately for Numudan, it is very much on the back foot at this point. He had the aggression and trying to get as much damage as he could for most of this game, but now it's the case of just himself holding on and trying to survive into this castle age, as those Sofa from DeMu are just running around getting the damage. And I think those Sofa on the sort of bottom left side of the map, and finally, maybe if he doesn't turn away, going to find those deer on the bottom side, which I don't think have anything defending them, but he actually does pull away. He's not going down there at all. So somehow Numudan getting away with one there. And still on the aggressive himself with his Keshiks, I see on the minimap running away to the east as well. But behind all of this, DeMu's economy has been insane. His unit count, his main army has just been growing, and we see poison arrows finishing up now, and with some Sofa and archers in the front, even as Numudan ages up and starts to get his upgrades in, he's going to have a hard time holding on.
And that collapse here is looking scary from both sides, but DeMu's looks so much scarier with all that food income just skyrocketing. Sure, the stockyards are set up, but stockyards need workers, and there's no space for workers to hide even. Villagers falling like flies, and those Keshiks, they are able to find a few villager kills here at the bottom, but it's not just about the villager kills. Those cows are still living their best life. A bunch of villagers just running for their lives here to the left. This is a push that cannot be shut down because these Sofas, they've got 1,000,000 armor, and a little bit of TC fire is not doing too much to him at all.
No, it's going to feel good for a Mali player to be burning down someone else's food structures underneath their TC. And it looks at this case, you know, Numudan, it's the last game. This is match point. So I can understand him holding on and trying to get what he can, but alas, it is too much. DeMu has done it 3-1, beating Numudan and advancing through to the next round.
Now, getting a sweet, sweet victory like this for DeMu must feel amazing. After all those crashes, it was off to a rocky start, but DeMu made it look convincing, taking Numudan down 3-1. That's nothing to scoff at. Now, DeMu, for a few weeks, he's had a little bit of trouble being here for the full weekend. So I'm really happy to see that DeMu, now that he got his schedule in order, he's able to sit here, play it through, and show us why he's higher on ATR, after all. Especially considering most people were hoping Numudan would be the next one qualifying.
It's funny you say that, Marika, because I was tuning into DeMu's stream last night and he was telling a story. Sorry to air his dirty laundry. I hope he doesn't hear this afterwards, but he did say it on his stream that he's been nursing a multi-day hangover this week and has not been feeling his best at all. So I assume now it's not hit a third day and he's feeling his absolute sparkly best. And it seems that way in this series, at least. Really amazing games from DeMu. I was impressed, especially those last couple. It was looking like it could have gone anyone's way, especially after losing the first map. And we weren't too sure what was going to happen on water, with DeMu picking that as his choice. But then pretty comfortable for him eking out these last two games. And yeah, it gives me a lot of sort of confidence, or a lot of extra excitement to see DeMu come up against one of the absolute favorites, Puppy Paw, in the next round.
Oh, I'm so excited to see Puppy Paw and DeMu facing off. And I think both of these guys, if there's someone who can take down Puppy Paw, DeMu might be the one. I hope, like you said, the hangover has worked its way through. But before we get to that, guys, we are going to get a little bit of MSN and kill Jardy. And before we get to that game, we're going to take a short break. So boys, we will be right back. Get your popcorn, get your tea. We're going to be here for another while and another best of 5. See you in a few minutes.